Nick Donkin, and together we're going to present the first of the club officers online workshops. Yay! This is quite exciting for us. This is the first time we've really got quite a number of our District 73 people to join us, as well as those from other districts such as District 70 or District 72. I first came up with the idea of having online club officer training some time back, and I've tried many different ways to get people involved with something like this. So being able to do a training workshop from your own home, at your own desk, on your own computer. How simple is that? At the moment, of course, it doesn't mean that you can have a tick on the DCP program. Unfortunately, for us in District 73, it hasn't yet been sanctioned as allowable, but we're working on that. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. So firstly, I thought it would be useful at this time of the year to talk about team management and to look at some practical ways that you can involve your team of club officers in online communications as well as your face-to-face. I am in the northeast of Victoria and my clubs span the two districts. Albury Wodonga Toastmasters is in District 70 and Wangaratta is in District 73. We recently did some training, but some of my members of clubs in Area North 29 could not attend. The distance that they would have needed to travel was just too great. Some of them live in Bright, some in Shepparton, and that would have meant a 2-hour journey there and a 2-hour journey home again. And this is a really big issue for us in regional areas. I'm just going to say hands up those who agree with me. Perhaps you can just say whether or not travelling to training is an issue for you. Just type something in that will let me know you're on the same page as I. Kevin says it's painful. It can be, and you know what? It can be quite costly as well.
And I think sometimes.
Tell us a little bit about why you would like to see online training happening.
Well, I guess one of the things is because of Bendigo and Ballarat are quite far out. They do miss out on training. But it's not just the club officer training. There's always training happening through the year. There's extra stuff that would be really great for people, but they can't access it because it's another trip down. And also people work and stuff. And I think in today's age, there's no reason why we can't do more of this stuff to access more people. I think, like, for me personally, I would probably be able to access more training, being able to do it online than having to go into the city or wherever it is every couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And I bet some of us would really appreciate not having to do as much of the travel in order to comply with
Exactly, because you got
of training. All right, so the reason then is quite clear from our point of view that we wanted to find another way of doing things. In my head, I keep hearing myself say, there has to be a better way. So let's move on and have a look at the agenda today and just find out what are some of these better ways that we could be doing some of the training. And keep in mind that the focus for the training for this session is about team management. So we want to begin by talking about, well, what is team culture like for you? Then look at some strategies around communications, and a look at some strategies around collaboration. So I'll demonstrate a few things that I've been using and ask questions of others to see what they've been using. There will be plenty of opportunities for Q&A. So if you've got a question, please pop it into the text chat as we're going along, and then I'll stop every 10 minutes or so and we'll hear from you. So we want to make this as interactive as possible. And we've already accomplished this first task, and that was a useful thing to do, to start building some relationship amongst the attendees. For me, that is the first step towards building a team culture. Being able to know a little bit about each of the people that make up our team is an essential first step. If you haven't had a chance to tell us what your roles are, if you're just new into the session, you can of course remind us in the text chat. For many of us, we may have multiple roles. They may be a couple of presidential roles, a couple of vice president education, or as Osher is just telling me, it could be that you're an immediate past president, and of course
Yes, that's
you have
correct.
a different role. So what's your particular role going to be like for you, Osher?
Well, I think I will be cooperating with all the current club leaders and helping them with whatever task they have. Just passing
Absolutely.
on my knowledge and give them my time.
Absolutely. You're in a service position and it's your job to help them with their tasks. So building trust with each of those individuals, I'm sure, will be one of the things that you want to see happen. You may even have other roles. We might have people in the audience who are not president, VPE, membership and so on. You might have a different role. And I'm thinking of you, Dean. Would you like to tell us what that role is? I'm not sure if Dean is still at the computer there. But he's typing now. No, that's okay. So Dean's role in the Albury-Wodonga Toastmasters Club is...
I was previously Vice President membership, but I'm currently the Webmaster of Albury-Wodonga Toastmasters.
Correct, yay! And I've also played a webmaster role for the club earlier on. So Dean, tell me, how do you see your role playing out this year?
I see my role as a learning opportunity to learn more about how EasySpeak operates. I also see it as a way to bond with the Vice President of Public Relations in terms of attracting new members to the club. I was going to look into Meetup, but basically seeing the role in which technology can enhance our Toastmasters meetings and increase membership.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on a really important point there about working in partnership with another person on the executive. I'm a big fan of using that strategy where you have pairing up. So it might be, for example, as Dean's saying, the webmaster works closely with the VP Public Relations. I'm wondering what other kind of partnerships you might advocate as you consider the culture of your club. Because I think that the team culture is made up of a whole range of things. And my image here kind of spoke volumes to me. Because for me, the team culture is about a group of people working on a common project, a common issue, or as we are in the same club. And we bring to it all those different aspects of our own personality, our own skills, and our own preferences. We, as you can see in this picture, they're all painting a wall, but they're using different colours and there are different parts of it. This to me says a lot about the kind of culture that we want to generate within the team of Toastmasters. We do want to build membership. That's a common goal. But we will bring different things to the table to discuss. So let me ask someone now, what's a typical kind of task that your team is going to work on over the next month? Can I ask Miriam?
Sure. Well, just a common task that we're all talking about just before was the speech contests. So it will be a matter of us gathering who wants to be in the contest and who wants to be judges. We're actually hoping to have a combined contest with Mornington Toastmasters, where we will have the contests for both of our clubs at the same night.
Brilliant. Contest is a
the
huge task, isn't it?
Well, yes, especially for a club. Currently, we only have 10 members. Obviously, we're working on that. And last night we had a meeting where 3 guests came. So hopefully they will decide to join us. That would be great. But we're a bit strapped for numbers at the moment. So while we're keen to participate, it's difficult for us to host and organise things just at the minute. So we're very pleased to try out this new strategy.
Excellent. So how would you describe the team culture at your club, Miriam? What is it that drives them along in this particular cause?
I wasn't very clear on your question, but the team culture at our club is actually very good. I guess because we're so small, we have to cooperate. For example, we ran a speechcraft course fairly recently, and one of the team members was able to produce a program manual for the participants by being able to use her skills to turn a document that was given to her in Acrobat format and turn it into Word so that she could change some of the content. So just a very small example, we use each other's skills, be in contact with each other often to just arrange what we need to do.
I think that is so important. Thank you for sharing that, especially with the sort of documentation that we need. We need it in an easy to use format. I like the fact that you're doing it cooperatively, because I think cooperation is an absolutely essential element for a successful team culture. So let me now ask someone else, as I move to my next slide, whether or not you think you have created some culture amongst your team already by following any one of these 7 steps. I'll just run through them. This is a typical set of steps that you would use to form a new executive team. In my clubs, create opportunities for current members to shadow the current club officers before we even get to nominations. Then we nominate, then we hold elections. Then we might provide a formal induction and explain to everybody what the roles are that these people are going to fulfill. In doing that, we're acknowledging the skills of each member, and I think that is the key to empowerment for each of those new club officers. And then the next step might be to bring your executive team together in real time. At the moment, in my club in Albury-Wodonga Toastmasters, we've had 2 committee meetings already, one in July and one in August. And that's typically how we get together and make some decisions and move the club forward. And of course, the last point is to recommend attendance at club leadership training. And we can recommend till the cows come home, and sometimes it doesn't work. And we had a brief discussion about that at the beginning today, talking about the problems of travel. So in the text chat, could you tell me, by just putting in 1 to 7, which of those steps you take with your club to form your executive team? And whilst you're thinking about that, I'm going to swing over now to Moses. Moses, if you are there, I'd like to get your opinion and your views on the way in which we form the team and create the culture of the team. and how it's done over there in New Zealand. So if you're the Moses, can you come to the audio?
Yep, I'm here, Carol.
Excellent. Can you tell us what type of team culture you have in the club offices in your club in Wellington?
It's rather interesting. Leading up to the actual day of the elections, it's sort of like, well, who wants to do what? And then come the day of the elections, that's when who wants to do what says, I want to do something. And that's how it goes. So they elect people who are there. If people aren't there, and they want a position, they don't get elected in. So that's how they do it in our club. I don't know how they do it in other clubs here in New Zealand. So of all the 7 steps that you have there, what's that?
Carry on.
No, so of all the steps that you've got here, basically it's just number 2. There's no opportunities. Oh, we still have club officer elections, but that's how it's run at the club that I've been attending.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your input. And I think we'll find that there are differences in how many of our clubs would take the 7 steps. And maybe there's steps that I've missed out on. Let me swing over to Kevin and just find out how it's done in your part of the world, in New Zealand, in your new club. So if you're there, Kevin, you could tell us a little bit about growing the club officer culture there. Oh, okay. I'll let you type that in then. Thank you so much for letting me know. I know those problems. It's frustrating. So the reason that I asked everyone to say which of these steps happen is just to see what everyone has an opinion about what works for them. Because not all these steps will be pertinent to every club. You pick the ones that work. So Moses is saying that they do 2 and 3. And many clubs that I know do exactly that. Later down the track, we've then found how important the shadowing is. And as Kevin is saying, that works for him and his clubs too.
I really like the shadowing.
Go ahead.
I really like the idea of the shadowing, but I think at some of the smaller clubs it's hard because you usually get the same people on the exec each year. And I know at Molson we have some of our roles are vacant. So it's hard enough to get enough people on the executive team than to be able to get enough people to shadow as well from next year. But at a bigger club like some of our bigger clubs, I'm more trying to encourage that where they have people who want to join in the next year. But I think some of the smaller clubs might struggle to get a whole exec team and people to shadow as well.
Thank you, Kirsty. That's very important. It does depend on the size of the club. As you say, if you don't have enough members to do the shadowing, then there's no point. The shadowing mode is where you have someone who will be like an assistant and will follow a leader, the current executive, although they don't have a role on the committee as yet. So the current club officer might delegate some of the tasks they need to do to their assistant. So I know in your case you were assistant VPE and now you've moved up into a VPE position. So you might now start thinking about having someone shadow you or follow you and delegate roles to them before you hand over to them at the end of your term. I think that shadowing is an awesome way to get people used to the idea of what the role does.
Definitely.
I just wanted to scroll back. Go ahead, I'm just scrolling back to see what else Kevin had to say.
I know when I started VPPR, it was very nerve-wracking and not knowing what I was doing. The idea of shadowing, it's great because you get to feel the role and be more confident when you go into that role of what you need to do, and you're not kind of just thrown into the deep end. You've got that time to learn about the role. So I think most people would be really excited to have that opportunity to get a feel for the role before they put their hand up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Kevin, I'm not sure what SCS means. You're saying SCS meeting roles, maybe the name of your club, and exec role, social events, not just the executive. So that's another point which helps build the team culture. If you can have a more laid back social event where you are networking with people not just about the club but about themselves, then you're more likely to build a trusting relationship with different people. Oh, thank you, Club. I should have known that. Successful Club Series. How important are they? Absolutely. Have some of your senior members work through some educational with your club. Most important. However, let's move on because we've got quite a lot to cover. Keep in mind that I will share the recording with everybody, and these slides are also available for you afterwards. I'm not sure what you mean, Moses, by that last comment. And I'm not sure if you want to explain it.
Oh, that's these are it's like building culture, Carol. There's a club in Bellingham. It's called Bellingham Evening Toastmasters, and they go for tramps. So all of them actually go tramping through the bush, and so it's like they build.
That's a Kiwi.
That's
Okay, I had a different
what a good
conversation. Well, tramps to me were more like the homeless hobos, and I thought, okay. Oh dear, that was
Understand.
segue. All right, so look, I really think that in order to build whatever this mysterious mix is for team culture, we have to empower all of the members of the executive team. So I have another question for you on this slide, and I thought I'd let you answer that one in the text chat as I continue on. The driving force behind your executive team, is it a who or is it a what? Maybe you'd like to comment on that in the text chat in relation to your current club where you are a club officer and you've had a chance to look into what the executive team is doing. And what I wanted to just explore with you is some of my experiences about the driving force and how that can change depending on the type of club you're involved with. So I wanted to just tell you a little bit about my recent adventures in online clubs, and I'll mention the Firebirds Collective as one of them. And for us, the team culture in the executive is not only multicultural, it is also multinational, and it spans the globe. Well, not the culture, but the people do. So we have not difficulties, but challenges in making sure that we empower every member of the team and make them feel comfortable, even though the culture is different. I know that that has played out in different ways in which we communicate. And sometimes, it could be a language, it could be an understanding of colloquially used terms. And just now, when Moses mentioned the word tramps, that was an ideal example of what I mean, in that a word will have a different meaning depending on your culture. So learning to work through those is a very important part of empowering. So I wondered whether or not someone would like to come and tell me about something in their own clubs that they believe is the driving force behind their current executive team. Atinda, are you able to talk to us about that? Atinda is typing. I'm not sure if Atinda has the mic back.
Hello, I think you can hear me now, hopefully. I had my microphone off. Yeah, so I think for us within our executive team, it's most about like actually setting out very small goals in regards to finishing the manuals for club members and to getting them competent. And that's the main motivation behind getting everything going and to put things in place in regards to achieve those goals slowly. And we have been working
Excellent.
hard, and that's in regards to that, and that's our main motivation. All the team, the whole team is very motivated towards it, and we've got really good experienced members at Werribee Toastmasters. We got people that have been doing Toastmasters for 20 years, 10 to 20 years, and 25 years, and so on. So we've got a really good team, and they just keep building it further and further. So very good motivation among our team.
I think
Kirsty,
one
can
of
you
the
hear me now?
word,
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Good.
just 1 sec. I just wanted to check with Tinder. Is Werribee the club where Julie Barker is a member? You can answer in the text chat. But let's hear from Tiffany now about the particular driving force behind your executive team.
Yes, hello, can everyone hear me?
I can.
Yes, okay, thank you, Carol. I believe the driving force behind both of my teams at Northern Exposure and Nelvik is having a very down-to-earth family-like culture. We're all very close, and just being able to be there for one another and shadow each other, and also to make sure that everyone's feeling fine and enjoying the meeting, I find it makes a difference. So having the down-to-earth family and support culture helps our team to collaborate closely together and also work towards a common goal. We have our executive meetings every month, and I think at least every second day we're always communicating with each other, whether it's email, phone, or WhatsApp. It's just having that clear communication and that closeness. It's something that strengthens all clubs and the team.
Thank you, Tiffany. That is brilliant. I think that is a really great segue to what I wanted to cover next, because I think there are some essential ingredients for empowering your team, and you've just mentioned one of them, and that is the connection. And you're more or less saying that it helps as a driving force because you are working towards a common goal. And most of us find that that's true and can help get things done. When you have an added type of cultural relationship that is more family-like, then that really is a very strong, committed team. That's not for everybody though, and there are ways in which we might explore next on how we can generate more of that. One of the reasons that I've put these three things down is that it leads ideally into the type of communications and collaboration tools that I wanted to focus for you, with you. Connection is at the top of my list because I think unless you have every member of your executive team connected in some way and working towards a common goal, then it doesn't matter how hard you try, things will not go according to that common goal. Often that's because at the beginning, sometimes new people coming together don't know each other, so they don't yet have that feeling of trust, and you need to grow that. Often you'll get people who have their own agendas and would rather see the club moving along in one direction. It might not be that the rest of the team want it to move in. So you've got conflicts to deal with as well. So making sure that you're connected and on the same page and that you have a common goal for your club is one of the strongest ingredients. And the second one there, of course, is communication, and the third one is collaboration. The question is, how do we do that? But Tiffany is describing how they do that with frequent conversations. And I imagine that that would be by telephone and perhaps face-to-face meetings. Is that correct, Tiffany? You can answer in the text chat. And everyone else, would you tell me in the text chat, what is your most common form of connecting with your other executive team members? What is it that you do most frequently to touch base with them and to ensure that you are on the same page? And I can predict what is going to come up, of course. Depending on what, the size of the club and your role. The common thread will always be email. It's the lowest common denominator. Even though we say emails are dead, well, they're not really. They still help us to make a connection in one way or the other. Some tools that we use help that along better than others. There's nothing worse, I think, than having to generate a new mailing list every time there's a new set of executive team members. So having a tool like EasySpeak takes away that challenge. It's already done for you. You simply use the Club Mass email, and I'll speak more about that later. Having what you've put in there, Kirsty, would you like to tell us how you make use of Facebook chat as one way of connecting?
So we use Facebook chat quite regularly at Sunbury, so it's just kind of a good way when you're talking to more than one person, if you want to just nut out something or you've got a question, because everyone can see it and it's kind of instantaneously, and then you can chat, invite who you want to the conversation. I find it a lot quicker than email when you try and email back and forth. And then you also, what I like is you know when they've seen it, so that with email you don't necessarily know they've got the email, whereas Facebook I know whether they've seen it. So we use it quite regularly at Sunbury.
Excellent. And I'm nodding away here because I agree with that so much. I use Facebook Messenger a whole lot. And one of the reasons that I like it is exactly what you just said. You know when the person has received the message. But it still suits the 2 or 3 people who are communicating that way because they can do it anytime. So anytime discussions is one way for creating those online conversations. I'm not a big fan of using the Facebook groups for that because I think the conversations get lost. But if you have a Facebook Messenger, then you can use it for structured conversations. Kevin is saying it's a generation thing. Well, I'm not so sure that that's still correct. However, there are lots of ways in which we might work through the ways in which Toastmaster club officers can and should connect and communicate with each other.
I think Kevin's got a
Some are
good
not
point.
tech savvy. Go ahead.
Yes, we've got some members of our club on our team who aren't on Facebook, so then we'll use Skype or something or other forms of communication. We're lucky now as well, there are so many different options, so I guess it's kind of finding out what works best for your club and your exec team and trying for different things.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's different strokes for different folks. And the first thing we have to find out in making that connection is what will work for the other person. And if that person thinks that WhatsApp is a question, well, we know that we're not going to use that with that person. If we know that the person we want to connect with doesn't have email, well, we're going to have to use a phone call or a face-to-face. We must find the common denominator for that real connection. And it could be that we need to have frequent face-to-face meetings.
Yeah, that's correct, Kirsty. We have in our club some people who don't look at emails, and some people who use Facebook, and some people who don't go into Facebook at all. So we have to make sure that we communicate with those people who don't look at emails via Facebook, and those who don't look at Facebook via email. So we have that problem. Or we also have some executives who travel a bit away from Melbourne, and we probably have to Skype them and do things like that at meetings, executive meetings. So we have to look at different ways of communicating with different executive committee members.
Thank you, Gosha. You brought up a really important point there. And that is what happens when some of your executive team are away and maybe can't attend face-to-face meetings. You could bring them in using technology tool of one kind or another. And Gosha mentioned the use of Skype.
It's not Goshka, it's Mala.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, Mala. My apologies.
no, Mala, I just typed that we should use Skype, and I think it is very often people, when they are going away, they just think that there is no communication or there is no need for communication. I'm out and I'm not participating. But I think with the technology we have at the moment, using Skype or Messenger, that will resolve a lot of problems, because if we are serious about running the club, we should communicate, and just, even if we are going away, we have Skype, we can connect. So that's something probably we can discuss at our next club meeting. And myself and Mala, we are from the same club. So and we can demonstrate that one of the meetings, maybe executive meeting, we can just make a trial, like we had today, half of an hour to set up the whole webinar. That's what people need, because if they are not familiar, they will never use the technology.
Yes. And I think that's important. You need to persuade, but you also need to support in the use of new technology if it's going to help solve an issue, not just for the sake of using it, but in order to make sure that everyone is on the same page and reaching a common goal. That's the thread that's running through it. So, for example, at one of our committee meetings last time, or we were doing that, one of our executive team was ill, wasn't able to drive, but could use the phone. So we phoned her and we put her on speakerphone, and therefore she was able to enjoy the meeting with us. It could be a little more than that. If you have, for example, many members who are not available to meet face to face, and you have an urgent issue to decide upon, in those situations you might go for something like a free conference call, which asks each member to phone in to a particular number, and then you can have your conversation in a teleconference. These are the tools that will help with specific issues. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about team communication now, and to build some of our knowledge about what else we could be doing. Because team communication is all about, in the case of Toastmasters, we're all building this thing called success for the club, and in order for us to know which pieces need to be put in place, then communication from the team needs to be quite clear. It needs to be frequent, and it needs to be delivered in such a way that makes it fun. We want to have some fun in this role. I hope you agree with me on that one. And Moses has a really interesting idea. I think many of us might agree with it, that it would be useful to assess which communication technology other members of the team would be comfortable with if they can't meet face to face. So I'm thinking that that's exactly what I want to do with my next committee meeting. I want to ask them, all right, over the next month, we can't have a committee meeting because X, Y, and Z are all going to be away. Can we do something in Skype? How would you feel about that? But we need to ask, first of all, just to make sure that everyone is capable of joining in with that, not making it too hard. So you've already mentioned a few of the things that you're using. So I've covered a little bit about the free conference call. Does anyone else use that particular product? answer in the text chat. It's a free service.
Yeah, we
And
did
I also
use
use, go ahead.
we did use conference call at one time, some time ago when we had um, a competition, a contest, and we couldn't meet up. We had to discuss some urgent matters, and we used conference call to sort out our issues. And that was useful, but that was only between 3 people. We could coordinate that. We couldn't do it with 6 committee members, though. It was difficult to do that with 6 members.
Right. Okay, well, thank you for that input. So some of you might want to consider that as an option when the need arises to use free conference call. I'm wondering what your favourites of any of those on my slide might be. And I see at least, that WhatsApp is appearing quite frequently. It looks like Tinder is using that. Tinder, would you like to tell us a little more about WhatsApp?
Hello. Yes. Sorry, I just disconnect my microphone. Meanwhile, yes. WhatsApp is. I think it's really good because it communicates with several people at the same time and by the single means of message. So it's a group of people that come together and make a group. It's like text messages, but then you make a group of it and you get all the people to join the group. And if you send a message to that group, it is delivered to all the members in that group, so everybody can read. So if I say I won't be able to do tomorrow round robin session, so all the members will be able to have a look at that session and they say, okay, oh fine, if you can't do it, then I'll be able to do your role, or if you can't come in tomorrow, you can accept apologies. And it's a very fast way of communication rather than emails, because emails, you have to send it and someone has to go back to their computer and then check it themselves to actually receive that email and then reply it back. So sometimes just to say a couple of things, it might take a couple of days to actually convey that message. But with WhatsApp, you can do it within minutes. And that's the thing that I like about WhatsApp. I actually play soccer, and our whole team is managed on WhatsApp, and we don't have any office, nothing. Everything is managed on WhatsApp, and it
Yes,
works very well,
Oh,
honestly.
that's brilliant.
yes, Kirsty.
I
Actually,
like that whole idea.
yeah, Kirsty, that's correct, because I have used WhatsApp on other activities that I'm involved with, the groups that I'm involved with, and that's what we do. Just one message, all the members receive it, and we know what's happening. It's an excellent way of communication, and I was going to suggest WhatsApp for the Toastmaster executive meeting next time, so that we can all be on the same group and do the same thing.
Yeah, if you can text, you can use WhatsApp. It's a great sort of resource.
I like it too, because it's just the ideal tool for that frequent short messaging, like you might do with normal text messaging on the phone. And it means that it gets to the person straight away. You can get a decision made, or you can find out what's happening very, very quickly. So let's move on. So I wanted to get you to think about some of the obstacles that you might be faced with when you are trying for that communication outside of meetings. And as you can see on my list, there's quite a few that I'm focusing on. The time management skills for every Toastmaster are pretty good, I find, in general, because of the nature of what we do. We're used to being on time, we're used to being timed, and we are used to managing our own time when we're giving speeches. So it's a nice step forward when we want them in the executive team to manage their time effectively. One of the other things that I wanted to focus on briefly is this whole notion of focus versus distraction. And it's more evident when we're using tools outside of the meeting times that are in an environment where distractions are huge. And I list Facebook amongst that particular group of distractions. And this might just be a personal thing for me, or you might want to agree. I'm just going to move the slide along. And whilst I'm talking about my views on Facebook, you might put into the text chat whether you use a Facebook page or a group for your communications. So what I'm finding with Facebook communications with the executive team is that it's a distraction when it's inside a group that's dealing with many other things. You might start a thread of conversation, and then someone in the team might focus in on one point of that and will take you off on another journey. And before you know it, this so-called focused conversation in Facebook has gone all over the place. And I also see it happen in Facebook Messenger groups. I'm not sure how WhatsApp is like. But for me, I find that is a huge distraction. And so I've been looking for better ways in which we can have a filtered, focused conversation with the club officers executive. It looks like Tinder is agreeing with me, and that's probably why you've gone down the trail of using WhatsApp, because it does offer you that more immediate focus.
Yes, Carol,
focus on. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yes, Carol, I agree with you completely. But I just want to make one point that these chat groups, even WhatsApp, will also have the same issues because it uses the same sort of scenario to actually talk to people. Discussing on an issue is sometimes not the very best way to actually do it on Facebook or WhatsApp. I think WhatsApp, and it's only about communicating and sending the message to other person. I think discussions are more likely to be made face to face, and they're better because then you can see people and see what their reaction is. And it also tends you to listen to other people, and yeah, it's more interactive that way. Having an active discussion on Facebook or WhatsApp, I do not agree with that, but as part of medium of sending a message from one person to the whole team, it's the best way.
Yeah, thank you for that, Atenda. There's one way around it, and just an example that I wanted to fly by you is what some of our online clubs are doing is having a separate Facebook group for their executive team. It means that there are multiple groups that they might go to in Facebook, but they seem to be managing all right. But I wanted to find something that was even better. So I've gone across to, let's skip over that slide just for a moment, because we've talked about. And then what I want to do is flip over to this new one called Slack. And I've only recently become aware of and involved in the use of as a channel of discussions. Let me find out if anyone else is using it or has heard of it. I'll just type into the text chat there. You can, if you are multitasking and you'd like to go there immediately, you can get to it with slack.com. And for all intents and purposes, it is just a discussions forum, but you have the ability to set the channels. This is where I believe you can filter and focus the discussions on particular issues. So let's imagine that you are club officer team, and you've decided you're going to use Slack for your executive discussions in anytime mode. And you've created a channel called management. And what you can do in that one channel is get the members to discuss with each other their ideas about how the club might be managed. Now that's probably a bit too broad anyway. You might even filter it down even more to how do we manage the club membership. And filter it further from that. How do we manage the membership campaign coming up in September? So you can keep filtering down so that when people are ready to make a comment, when they want to find out what others think, they will go to the channel and find out. It's a free service, but it is one of those tools that you can upgrade to get more features. But at the moment, the free one is doing everything that I need. Now, Moses is still here, I hope, and Moses joined me recently in a couple of these Slack channels, and I just wanted to find out from him as a new user how he was feeling about it.
Yes, I have been trying to learn how to use this, Carol. I've been having great difficulty. It's just understanding the channels, what channels are, how they work, that type of thing. So what I'm doing is that anything that's new to me, I'll go to YouTube because it has the tutorials on it. So it'll take me some time, but in taking that time, I'm slowly starting to understand. And as I understand, as I get a whole lot of information in my research, because I've understood it, I'll be able to share it with other channels. So to summarize, it is difficult for me to learn, but perseverance is a key. It's a big key.
Yes, absolutely. So the reason I have started is to experiment with how best to filter the communication that happens. Then I was off on a different trail, and I wanted to explore what tools could be used for more effective collaboration with my executive team. And I recently did some training for my onliners, and they are the club officers in the Firebirds Collective Club. And we introduced them to another tool that they could use to manage the tasks involved with managing a very big online club. This particular club has over 42 chartered members and usually has in their visitor list about 100 people coming in and out all the time. Their particular way of managing their executive team involves having an assistant for every other role other than the president. So there's an assistant VPE, assistant VPM, and in some cases 2 assistants. So they are able to shadow, but they're also able to take on some of the roles that are needed to be done. So one of the things that I did in trying to think through what are some of the challenges for members with their task management and collaboration. And I put out 7 different challenges that your teams might be faced with as they begin to collaborate. So things like, how do I find out about my tasks? Is there a handover process? Do I get a handover to the previous club officer or even know how to do that? How do I gain assistance? How can I be successful? How will I put forward my ideas? Where am I going to store and share the club files? How will I report to the executive? And the big one, of course, how will I participate in the completion of a club success plan? There's so many things that the new club officer will want to ask questions about. And these were certainly the questions in the minds of the Firebirds club officers who did the training with me. So we came up with a tool for them that they have taken on board with open arms, and they have found that it does the work for them. And this tool is called Trello. And this is a new one for some of you. It's like a project management tool. If you've ever used those before, you'll get an idea that it is very task focused. So this diagram or picture is a little small. You don't need to read the content, but you can see the way it's laid out in columns. Those columns are called lists, and in every list there are sets of cards, and you can see how this one is kind of floating. You can actually pick up a card and move it from one list to another. Your lists can have topic names according to what your needs are. You will then have people within the Trello board who are assigned various lists or various cards. And they may be able to work through their set of tasks and be seen to be doing their work with everyone looking over their shoulder. It is a collaborative tool because everyone has the same rights to what goes on the board. And so they have found that this particular little tool has worked well for them when they are all multitasking. So let me come back to you and see if there's anyone who's used Trello or some other type of project management tool or task management.
We haven't used Trello as such, but we have used a spreadsheet very similar to this, where we would cross off like to-do tasks and doing what we are doing and how whether it's done or not. We would cross off one and tick the other one off. Things like that, especially when it came to club contests and getting judges and the various tasks that we have to do before the contest. We had a spreadsheet with all these sections, what we need to do, what has been done, and what has been completed, and what is right, and the comments on the other side. We did similar exercise, but not in a card form though.
And is that in a Google spreadsheet format?
Not, yeah, it wasn't a Google spreadsheet. It was a spreadsheet that we shared among some of the members who were involved in a committee for organizing the contests.
Yeah. Okay, so what you can do though is just expand that idea a little further. And you could use your Google Doc for the whole executive team and spread it out like this Trello board in a way with the sort of tasks that you need, and everyone has access to it.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Everyone needs to be on the same page, and they can be with a Google Doc or a Google spreadsheet. So thank you for that discussion. That was useful. So Trello is just one that you might consider using. Let me ask if there's others that you use. Slide here for the Google, and we've begun that conversation. So anyone else who uses the Google solution? No? Anyone? Let's pick on someone. Tiffany, what about your executive teams? Do you use a Google solution then? In other words, that you share or spreadsheet?
Hi, Carol. Hi, everyone. Yes, we do use the Gmail Google Drive.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sorry. We do use the Google Drive to store all our documents, so it makes the handover easier for the next executive team. We also use it for incoming inquiries. So as the VPN, whenever we have visitors or guests visiting our club, I'll always reply through the club Gmail account. So in the future, when the next person takes on the VPN role, wants to look at the history of the communication that we have with visitors, then it's all there in the same place. Thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah, that leads me to just stepping up from that, Tiffany, thank you for that, is that one of my online clubs, the Firebirds, we constructed a Google site. And the Google site is collaborative, and it enables us to put up different pages of information for all the club officer roles. Because there are a lot of differences in the way the roles are done in online clubs. We have even different sets of roles as well. So in our Google site, we have a suite of pages that describe all of that everyone has access to it and can add to it. So that as a new executive team come on board in the following year, they will amend or change or add to it. And I'm looking at what Tinder mentioned there, good old Dropbox. That's something that we still use. Dropbox still has its uses. For example, for our online club, all of the evaluation forms for all of the advanced manuals are stored in a Dropbox for our members, so that when they come to an online meeting, they can quickly find out if they're evaluating. They'll go and get that evaluation form, and they'll be ready to evaluate in words on the night, and then use the page to fill in and send to the speaker. So Dropbox has its good side and its bad side. Some of the other people are trying out OneDrive, and there's a whole range of things that people are using that allow them to share things in the cloud. I think that's probably the way it's going to go for many of us. And we choose the process and the tool that suits us best. I'm coming to the end now of what I wanted to say. And I wanted to find out if there's anything that I might have missed in this whole discussion about collaborating and communicating using online tools. Find anything obvious? Is something that you are desperate to say? Thank you, Miriam. That's great. So what I'll do is I'll just move to my next slide, and we'll find out what you want to do next. Remember I said at the beginning, we as a small group, so there's Kirsty and myself and another 2 Toastmasters, who are more or less trying to put these webinars together. We would like to be able to continue, but we'd like to hear from you what you'd like to have us cover, and would you like to present? So in the text chat, would you tell me, first of all, what would you need to fulfill your club officer role? What would help you in one more of these, in another one of these webinars? So would it be something to do with the club success plan? How can we help our executive teams fill in and action a club success plan? Or could it be something to do with motivation through mentoring? Many, many different ideas that we could have for ongoing webinars. What we think we would like to do is have one in September, one in October, and I was hoping for one in November, but possibly that would be early December, given my time availability. So any ideas, just pop them into the text chat as we close the meeting for today. So let's hear from Kirsty first of all. What are you going to do next as you get ready to do your roles?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, Kirsty. If you can see the slides, more or less answering some of those questions. What would you plan to do next to help you with your club officer role?
I guess, in my, sorry, I'm doing PPR, so what I've kind of done in my roles is done a plan out of what I want to achieve for the year. So I'm trying to work through that and get in contact with the right people, but also look at what training is available. So stuff like this is really good for me because I get to learn a lot more, and some of the stuff that we've talked about tonight, I want to try and use. I guess my next step is trying to get that into our club exec meetings, and how that communication helps us to work better together. Because I think when we work better together, it makes everyone's job easier.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, I've got one bit of training that you might be interested in. It's on at 9 o'clock on Thursday. Next week, it's the 1st of September. Yep, next week. And it's called WordPress for Toastmasters. And the webinar is by David Carr. David is in here. And if you look on the Facebook online Toastmasters group, you'll find his invitation. So that's specifically for VPPRs, so you might like that.
Yeah, no, I think I would.
To what's been said in the text chat, Moses, I like that idea. If we have someone who would like to come on board at the next meeting and take us through their role, what they do, what are the key tasks, and maybe present us with a checklist, that would work really, really well.
I think we could have one, maybe we could do one of everyone. Having some present for each task would be great. Well, for different roles, we could have maybe someone from each report on their tasks. So we could have one for president, and then VPEs and VPPR, and so on. Because I know a lot of people don't get to go to the club officer training, so and it's always good to hear other ideas from different people.
Thank you. Well, what I plan to do, because I wanted to practice what I preach, I have created a little Slack communication tool for us as club officers. And if you would like to be invited to join that, just say yes, or send me an email, and I will send you an invitation. And what you can do then is share your ideas in a specific channel. So that will give you some extra skills, another tool to look at, and a way of collaborating with us on this very real task of extending and further online workshops. So it looks like we're getting lots of yeses. That's terrific. So I will move to my last slide now, just to invite you to consider what you'd like us to focus on for these 3 workshops. And I've put aside 3 Thursdays. Thursday is the only night in which I'm not attending to other Toastmaster Club stuff. So the 29th of September, 7th of October, and the 1st of December. Is this time a good one for everybody? You're coming in at about 7 and then starting close to 7:30 and finishing up around 8:30. Yes, yes. That's good. Okay. All right. So we have the beginnings of a lovely collaborative team here who might help us prepare the next set of workshops. I'm really thrilled with that, Kirsty. I hope you're pleased.
Yes, I'm very
excited. It works well for me to have lots of ideas. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. And I really wanted to say thank you again for attending the first of these webinars for club officers in our series, mainly to help those of us who are not always able to attend other training sessions. But we don't mind who comes in. We are delighted to have had with us tonight both Kevin and Moses from New Zealand and lots of people from District 73. Thank you again, and we'll see you in about a month's time. Thank you, everyone. I'll now close recording.
Thank you.